It's a WTSP Wednesday. Evan Closky is back. We are going to touch on the Bucs victory over the Colts. We have a couple of voicemails that we're going to get to that ask a couple of interesting questions. Then, as it always happens on Wednesday, Evan Closky of 10 Tampa Bay is going to give you his bold prediction, his player of the game prediction, and his score prediction as we turn the page and look ahead to the divisional matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Bucs podcast here on a WTSP Wednesday. Thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen or first watch every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. I am James Yarko, rejoined after a week off by my good friend and diehard Michigan Wolverine fan.
I hate you so much. I just despise you at this moment.
I didn't do anything to David, so I have to do it to you.
That's nice. I'm glad you savored that relationship.
David edits the show, so let's keep me on his good side. But of course, you can check out everything I'm doing over at bucksnation.com. Follow along on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JARCO_Bucs, at eClosky WTSP. And at Bucs_Nation. That's the last time I'm going to bring up Ohio State, Michigan on this show for today, Evan.
You know, for like a full decade, you could have brought it up and it would have been a happy segment. Yeah,
I know.
Not this year.
I never would have. I thought it was
mother bleep.
But anyway, I have to find joy in the little things, and Illinois football brings me no joy at all. So
you're lucky you're over there because your tooth would look like Vita Vea's right now.
My tooth used to look like Vita Vea's until I got fixed, thanks to being a hockey dad and taking a puck to the face.
Yeah.
But let's talk Buccaneers. We're not here to talk college football. We're not here to talk Tampa Bay Lightning or Vita Vea or my son's hockey team. Let's talk Buccaneers.
We can talk about Vita Vea. He fits.
Well, yeah.
Not his tooth. Not his tooth. Got it.
Okay, so they're coming off of a win in Indianapolis. That was a fun game to attend, be in the house there, and really, if anybody has the opportunity to go to Lucas Oil, what a fantastic venue, great atmosphere. I highly recommend it. But taking a look at the football side of things, the Buccaneers looked terrible in the first half. They're down by 10 points at halftime. They storm back. They take the lead. The Colts tie it. They march down the field. They take the lead again with 20 seconds left. And I mentioned that this reminded me of the Falcons game last year, where Tampa Bay was down 17-0 at halftime. They were down 24-7 in the third quarter. They come back and they win the game 31-24 in Atlanta. And of course, this was the second game after the bye week because they come out of the bye, go into the bye losing 3 out of 4, come out of the bye, beat the Minnesota Vikings in a very ugly game. Then you had this Atlanta game. And it seemed like everything turned at halftime for that one, where it was a statement game by the team, and it was a turning point for the team. Do you view this win by the Bucs in that same lens?
Yeah, I think that's actually a very good analogy. Obviously, that one happened later in the year, but I feel like that's what the team feels like. Now, the only problem is that Falcons game really catapulted them into the playoffs. This win is going to wear off before the Bucs can get there. But I will say, if the Buccaneers do make a run to the Super Bowl, I do believe we can harken back to that game and say this was the ultimate turning point in the season where we realized that Tampa Bay was going to get it done. So to that degree, 1,000%. And Tom Brady on his podcast, he even mentioned it. Just, sometimes you need to get punched in the mouth, and this team has to show its mental toughness. And what are you going to do? You played a poor second quarter, arguably one of the worst second quarters we've seen from this team the entire season. Leonard Fournette obviously has a great halftime speech. And, not only did Lenny step up in the locker room, but then he backed it up with his play. And I think that is so important because for everybody else in there, when you're kind of down and out and saying, oh no, here we go again, and you have a dude who's going to talk the talk and walk the walk, well, you have somebody you can lead, who you can follow their lead. And that's what happened. The most beautiful part about this was Tom Brady really was not a factor in this comeback.
That was
it had like Tom Brady is like well below like any of my talking points. So it's really cool to see Lenny say, this is going to be my game. Like we're not losing today. And that we don't have to lean on Brady to always be the guy to do that. And then 2, the defense, though they have holes, though they're not perfect, they're opportunistic. And the play that Antoine Winfield Jr. made is one of the best we are going to see this season from any player.
Yeah, it was incredible. My son was sitting there, well, not sitting, he was actually standing, screaming at the top of his lungs, "You don't moss Antoine Winfield Jr. Antoine Winfield Jr. mosses you." And I felt that was relatively fitting. If the Bucs go on another championship run, I need that Leonard Fournette halftime speech in the bonus features of the DVD. I mean,
yeah, we've now, by the way, we've added Lucas Oil Lenny to his name, which is great because we need more nicknames for Leonard Fournette.
We absolutely do. I don't know what the next one's going to be. I don't know. I got nothing clever for the Falcons. I'm going to have to give it some thought and check out the rest of the schedule, but I'm sure things will pop up in the moment as we continue through the season for more.
F the Falcons up Fournette. There we go. Just right off the top of the dome. I don't know if it's going to stick, but.
All right. Well, something else that people are really curious and wondering about is who's going to be the next coach of Notre Dame. And if you're confident in who you think is going to be named the coach, I'm going to recommend heading over to Bet Online. They have odds up for the next coach. Marcus Freeman is the leader right now at -200. Luke Fickell, fingers crossed it's Luke Fickell, +175. If you think Urban Meyer is a dirty, rotten, pathological liar like I do, he's at +900.
Enough with the Ohio State hatred. I am sick of you.
I'm just saying he's a pathological liar, and even Ohio State fans will admit that. And if you think that Notre Dame and LSU are going to go full swap and Ed Orgeron is going to be the coach of Notre Dame, +2,800, all of those over with our friends at betonline.ag. They have you covered all season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues to march to the playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit with promo code Locked On. For basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait. Take advantage of all the amazing offers available. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Segment 2 here of the Locked On Bucs podcast, and thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen or first watch every day. Evan, I barely made it through that ad read before I just started coughing like crazy. I am battling a cold, and it is just absolutely kicking my butt. So, we are going to let somebody else do the talking here for just a moment. We have a couple of voicemails from our listeners that are, one raises a really good question, and the other one has a reaction to some of the stuff that we've already talked about. So let's go ahead and jump over to the voicemails, starting with our friend Anthony.
Hello, this is Anthony calling in with a question. Still pretty, not too high, not too low on this Bucs victory against a very good team, like you just said. But actually, I have a question. Peter Report was saying there's a 99% chance we make the playoffs, and I'm pretty sure we win this division. So at what point do we start to see players sit out? I know throughout the season, load management is a thing. You don't want your guys to get too burnt out. And we saw what Rojo looked like with fresh legs. So, it'd be nice to get that 1 seed, but, another injury to the defense cannot be afforded right now. And I just was wondering if it's too early, or if we do see some sort of heavy load management, or, even medium, what does it look like? Do we sit Vita out a little more than we need to? Do we, Carlton Davis comes back, does he only play half the game? We might see Godwin sit out for a little bit, maybe even, half. So yeah, let me know what you think. I was just starting to wonder, since we're getting to that final stretch of the season, my concern at this point is more about, a healthy team. And we've seen what a healthy Bucs team can do. We won in Washington, we won in Green Bay, we won in New Orleans as underdogs. And, I just want that to happen again, and I want a healthy team. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good day. Bye.
All right, Anthony, thank you very much for the call. And it's a good question because, Evan, we've reached that point. You look at the Bucs, who are a team that could clinch the NFC South with a win against the New Orleans Saints in just a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen the health problems all year. Antonio Brown has missed like 5 games in a row, 6 games in a row. You had Gronk miss extended time. Sean Murphy-Bunting miss extended time. Carlton Davis, Richard Sherman. You lost Vita Vea for a game. You've lost Ali Marpet and Aaron Stinney in back-to-back games. At what point do you take a look at this team and you say, you know what? We're not worried about the 1 seed. We're not even worried about the 2 seed. We're in the dance. That's what matters. Let's make sure our guys are rested and healthy heading into the postseason.
First off, not anytime soon. I understand the sentiment, but first off, winning is very hard in the NFL. I don't know if you need to go back to the Washington game, the Saints game, this Colts game. Despite what they do to some teams at Ray J, winning is hard, and it is never a given in the National Football League. And anytime you think that you can just stroll in and get the dubs, that's when you're absolutely going to get upset by the Jets, the Texans, the Jags, because let me just say that right out of the gate. You are not you haven't earned anything until you are officially crowned the divisional champ. You officially earn your spot in the playoffs. So first, you're not sitting anybody until the division is locked up. And as of right now, it is not. So this isn't even a valid question for me until that happens. So in like 3 weeks or so. Then I'll say, once you have your playoff spot determined, then you can think about it. So what do I mean by that? All right, let's say that the Cowboys and Rams continue to kind of fall off here, and the Buccaneers are able to create some distance between them, and the Cardinals don't lose, and it just looks like the Cardinals are locked in at that 1 spot. At that point, if you're stuck at a 2 or a 3 seed, then yeah, it might not matter. But Bruce Arians has told us that last year does not matter going into this year. Now, we can just say last year doesn't matter because it's a completely different team, which is one point. But also, there were no fans really in the stands last year. So when you reference the Buccaneers on the road and getting it done week in and week out, they did it with really nobody in the stands. And Bruce Arians will be the first to tell you that that was not a realistic NFL playoff experience, which is why they had the ability to go in there and play their game and not deal with some of the adversities that we're watching the Buccaneers play with this season. And remember, last year, they didn't have a chance, this brand new team with so much talent, they didn't really have a chance to work on communication with raucous crowds. Mm-hmm. They're doing that this year. They're learning on the fly. and they only have a few more opportunities to nail it down before the playoffs. Having home field advantage is of the utmost importance. Having a bye is the most singular important thing that you can do. Go back to when before the byes were when they were just two teams and not one team. It was like I don't know the percentage, but it was a ridiculous percentage. I want to say it was close to in the 80, 90 percentile of you have a bye, you make the Super Bowl. You don't have a bye, you're probably not making a Super Bowl. So this team desperately needs to finish 1 or 2 to at least have the ability to host throughout the NFC Championship, the potential. And I say that because they are so good at home that is their distinct advantage over you entering a matchup. Do they need to play every game at home to make it to the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. They're a veteran group, and I believe in them. But look at the teams in the NFL playoffs and the NFC playoffs, and we've done this. You have the Cardinals, the Packers, the Buccaneers, the Cowboys, and the Rams, all in one clump. Then it's the Niners and the Washington football team. And the Washington football team is tied with the Vikings, the Falcons, by the way, the Saints. The Falcons, if they beat the Bucs, they could be in the playoffs. So, there is a lot riding on this game for Atlanta. And there's a lot riding on it for Tampa Bay, who's already dropped one divisional game, which puts them behind the 8 ball with the Packers, who have not dropped a divisional game, which puts them behind an 8 ball of the Cardinals. The Cardinals have not dropped the divisional game. The Packers have already dropped one. So if you drop another one, you're now a game behind them. So let's hold off on that thought. I get it. There's a lot of injuries, and you have to be smart with what you're doing. But if you're healthy and you can play, full steam ahead. You train all year for this. You have 17 opportunities in a regular season to put your talents on display based on 365 days of work or 350 something days of work, 349, whatever. I'm not doing the math right now. But you just unless we get to week 17, 18 and their spot solidified, the train keeps going and you play your dudes.
Fun fact, Detroit Lions had a better record in the month of November than the Los Angeles Rams. Speaking of that, Falcons.
Don't like that.
I do.
I mean, if you're the Rams, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, if you're the Rams.
Yeah.
But speaking of the Falcons, we do have a caller that wants to bring that up and reference something that I mentioned yesterday. We're going to get your thoughts on that here in just a second. So let's hear from Adam in Cumming, Georgia.
Hey, David. Hey, James. It's Adam from Cumming, Georgia. I know I hadn't called in a while, but I haven't stopped listening. Just wanted to give a couple thoughts. I love how you said that Falcons could be a trap game, so we got to stay focused and keep the gas going. And I believe if we could stop Cordell Patterson, we definitely can win this. I mean, they just haven't been efficient without him. And now that he's back, they did a little bit better. And also, I get to go to this game since I live outside of Atlanta. So I'm super excited. I'm hoping that we, Bucs by 40. But anyway, you guys have a wonderful day. And as always, go Bucs.
All right, Adam, thank you very much for the call and have a great time at the game. For David and my takeaways on Takeaway Tuesday, my second takeaway was this was the Admiral Akbar game, and David didn't get that reference. I'm not sure if you get that reference, but I'm a Star Wars nerd, so I wanted to reference it's a trap. So you take a look. The Bucs have a tough road game against the Colts, who are fighting for their playoff lives. Then you get the Falcons, but then you have the Bills, and then you have the Saints in primetime at home. So this was the quintessential trap game, in my opinion, for the Buccaneers. You're playing the lowly Falcons, but a lowly Falcons team that isn't very good, yet is somehow in the playoff race, like you just mentioned. Do you view this game as being one to really keep an eye on as being a trap game?
So kind of, but I'm going to flip it on your head a little bit.
Okay.
All right. They just played the Colts, an AFC team. Now they're playing a divisional foe. Then they play the Bills, an AFC team, to then play the Saints on Sunday night. For me, the trap game is the Bills game. Because you know what? In the grand scheme of things, the Bills game doesn't matter. It's an AFC opponent. It's a great opponent. If you lose that game, it's tough to go perfect the rest of the season, but you have to win the divisional games. You're staring at I just mentioned it. The Cardinals have not lost a divisional game. The Packers have lost one. You cannot lose a divisional game if you want a shot at the number 1 seed. I know this team wants that number 1 seed. Any team in the National Football League wants this number 1 seed. I think they'll be better prepared for this game than they were the Colts game. And then I think they're going to win this game. We're all going to run away with the Bucs are back. They're going to stink next week, and then they're going to plow through the Saints because that's a game that doesn't matter. So, the Bills, it's like that's the bad spot. The Bills are going to come to Tampa. Oh, we believe we're a Super Bowl team. We're going to beat the Super Bowl champs. And the Bucs just are not going to enter that matchup with the same sort of gusto. Even though they're home, I just see it right now. Oh no, the Bills are Super Bowl contenders. The Bucs aren't what we thought they were. I have next week as my trap. So teaser for next week when I pick against the Bucs.
Oh,
I've only done it once. I did it with the Rams. It's the only one that I've done on paper where I picked, I think, against the Buccaneers. So
you wanted to pick Philly, but you said that
I didn't
bring yourself to pull the trigger.
And the agreement was if they lost to Philly, I couldn't take credit for it. So so I stuck with that pick. I get the credit for I was worried about that game, and it did get close at the end. But I still had to win last week. A lot of people were picking the Bucs to lose on the road last week in Indianapolis, even though they were favored. So. And on the Blitz show, I was the only one to pick the Bucs. But yeah, as I get back to the main point, I understand the sentiment. You're not completely wrong in thinking that. I think that's the common view. That's why I wanted to kind of flip it on you a little bit and present a different side of where I'm worried about more next week. This team's going to be locked in. They need to win the divisional game.
All right. Well, we will get to some of your predictions here in just a moment. But first, we have to talk about some friends of ours in this holiday season. You can grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, or even better than a candy bar, and that, of course, is Built Bar. Filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat, and high in protein. You get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. There are so many flavors that you're going to have a hard time choosing. You're going to go with raspberry, mint brownie, cherry, double chocolate, cookies and cream, peanut butter brownie. Built Bar gives you that extra fuel that you need to bust down those mall doors and battle all the holiday shoppers. Or if you're just standing in endless shopping lines, Built Bar can give you that extra something to keep you going. So throw it in your jacket, throw it in your purse. You never know when you're going to need it. Are you friends with Santa? Tell him to throw a few Built Bars in those stockings. With so many flavors, they would make anyone's Christmas morning a happy one. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15, and you are going to get 15% off your order. Again, promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Wrapping things up here on a WTSP Wednesday edition of the Locked On Bucs podcast. James Yarko, Evan Closky on Twitter at @JYarko_Bucs, at @eClosky, WTSP. It's prediction time. So, Evan, it's time to pull out that crystal ball of yours. It hasn't been as fiery hot as it was early in the season. Your Gronk pick was a good one, for your predictive player of the game. Your bold, that close on the bold prediction. If it wasn't for that final drive,
I know
was not having a great game.
It was really, I was like, they let me down there at the end. I was like,
they were so worried about defending the pass in that situation that the running lanes were there for Jonathan Taylor, and you can only keep the best running back in the National Football League down for so long. Well, Bruce Arians says he doesn't care who the hell it is. Nobody's going to run on the Buccaneers. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. And Evan, who is going to be the breakout performer, the player of the game in Atlanta?
I'm making this a dual breakout performance. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have been playing way too low. Here's the thing. The Falcons, the last time they played the Bucs, Gronk was a big focus, or should have been a big focus, because he kind of went off against them. So what I think is going to happen is they're going to be like, okay, we got to stop Gronk, right? He has nearly 200 yards in the 2 games since he's returned. So that's going to put focus on Gronk. That's going to leave Mike Evans and Chris Godwin maybe a little softer than usual, especially Godwin underneath. I think that's going to be there. But I really do think this is the game, especially if Antonio Brown is back. But even if he's not, Scotty Miller still allows you to push the offense down the field and open up underneath, because you have that deep threat back, something that Tyler Johnson really does not provide in that position. I like Tyler Johnson, just he's not a direct replacement to AB like Scotty Miller is a direct replacement to AB. So I think Evans and Godwin. So this is going to be a dual pick, by the way. All right, Evans and Godwin, both my players of the game. Both are going to have 100 yards receiving. Both are going to have a touchdown.
So I'm guessing that's also your bold there.
Yeah, I'm combining it.
Gotcha.
That's a player of the game to a bold, marrying them. Huddle
I'm
up.
here for it. I am here for it. And look, the Indianapolis Colts said Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are not going to beat us. You got to figure out how to beat this Colts team without those two guys. They did a great job of shutting the two of them down. And the Bucs said, okay, well, here's a heavy dose of Rob Gronkowski, and here's a heavier dose of Leonard Fournette. And you're 100% right. Gronk played a huge role in the win against the Falcons earlier in the year. So if they say Gronk isn't going to beat us, okay, well, then here's Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And if Antonio Brown is on the field, of course, he was the one that scored the game winner last year in Atlanta in that huge come from behind win. So they're going to say, well, Gronk and AB aren't beating us this time. All right, well, then here's 13 and 14, and they're going to roast you. So I love it. What is your score prediction?
So this is, again, going to go kind of boldish too. 37-10 Buccaneers. Wow. And this is the largest margin of victory I've ever had for a prediction. But I've already mapped out the next 3 weeks for you, right? Overreaction to the win against the Falcons, letdown against the Bills, beating the Saints. Roll this tape back when it happens. But that is, I really do think they come in against the Falcons and they just play with their hair on fire. And I want to let you know, because everybody's like, no, Falcons are 5-6. They're a better team than that. Let me go roll through who the Falcons have beaten. They've beaten the Jaguars. They've beaten the Saints after they played the Buccaneers and lost their quarterback. Then they also have beaten the Dolphins. They've beaten the Jets. They've beaten the Giants. Those are your 5 wins. Those are an ugly 5 wins. And not to mention, it's not like they were world beaters against the Jaguars. I think all of these wins have been within a touchdown or less. Yeah, they have been. The most they've won by is 7. So, they recently lost by 40 to the Cowboys, and it was a look-ahead spot to the Patriots, where I'm sure they wanted to kind of give them a dose of their own medicine from that Super Bowl way back when. And they still lost 25-0. So I'm not a Falcons believer. I'm betting big on the Buccaneers this week.
As long as that one touchdown that you're giving the Falcons goes to Kyle Pitts, we're good. For the love of God, can they give me some fantasy points, please?
Yeah, why not? I mean, we'll see. The Bucs were fairly opportunistic the first time they played Matt Ryan and company.
Yep.
I do believe now that there's more tape on Cordero Patterson, they will be way more prepared for what they present with him versus week 2, when he was still sort of this, oh man, Patterson's been a fun little gadget play. Like, it's like, he finally has broken out. Now there's weeks and weeks of tape. So Todd Bowles, who I think has been getting some unnecessary slander on social media, questioning his abilities. And I understand some of it to a small degree, but we can save my defense of Todd Bowles for another day.
All right. Well, what do we have on tap over there at 10 Tampa Bay and 10tampabay.com?
Yeah. So, the Blitz still unrolling every Sunday, 11:30 in the morning. We're joined by Simeon Rice, me, Ryan Bass, Ben Murphy, and Simeon, getting you ready for the upcoming matchup, whenever that is. And this week, I mean, you watch it at 11:30. You don't have to wait too long until the 1 o'clock game. So we'll have that covered for you also on 10tampabay.com. We have Bucs coverage, Lightning coverage, the Rays, big week for the Rays is we have a lockout brewing. By the time you listen to this, it's on. So, we have all your coverage at 10tampabay.com, and reach out to me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at eClosky. Twitter, you see it at the bottom of the screen there at eClosky WTSP, and I'm always down for a fun conversation and debate.
All right. And of course, you can check out everything I'm doing over at BucsNation.com. Follow along on Twitter at LockedOnBucs, at JARCO_Bucs, at DHarrison82, at eClosky WTSP, and at Bucs_Nation. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, be good to one another. We thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucs.